I arrived at the hospital just before dawn, every ounce of strength and self-preservation urging me to disappear. The wheelchair rolled awkwardly over the threshold, each jarring bump sending shockwaves of pain through my bruised side. The glaring fluorescent lights flickered overhead, harsh and unforgiving, amplifying my discomfort and pricking my skin like a swarm of angry wasps. I could still hear my husband's voice echoing in my mind, the blend of rage and accusation, a haunting soundtrack to the night that had shattered everything. But the deep bruise on my side screamed louder than the shame. It was a physical testament to my reality, a bitter reminder of submission. I barely remembered how the fight had escalated, but I could still feel the pressure of his hand squeezing my wrist, the pain in my ribs when I had stumbled against the kitchen counter. I flinched at the sudden noise of a sliding gurney, the shrill wail of a nearby call button embedded in the air thick as molasses, and in that moment, a glance from a nurse pierced through the fog of my thoughts. Her sharp, intelligent eyes seemed to see beyond the surface, and she drew closer. "Do you feel safe at home?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with something deeper, concern or suspicion perhaps. The question struck me like a punch to the gut. Instinctively, my heart raced, pounding hard against my chest as I struggled to find my voice. The memories of my bruises flooded back, and I could almost hear my husband's mantra ringing in my ears. You're fine, just keep saying it." I thought of all the times I had nodded when I should have told someone the truth, but the fear of retribution held my tongue hostage. Therefore I nodded, murmuring a shaky yes that tasted bitter on my lips. All those years of training myself to appear invisible started to creep back, whispering like a cold wind sweeping through my mind. I was a practiced liar, a chameleon who had learned to fade into the background of my own existence. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me, but the backdrop of their relentless glow was nothing compared to the dim, oppressive space I occupied in my marriage. I closed my eyes briefly, drawing a shuddering breath, fighting against the urge to recoil from the world. The emergency department was a war zone, chaotic and electric, filled with frantic energy that pushed against my fragile resolve. Nurses flitted by like ghosts, their shoes squeaking against the linoleum floor, while alarms beeped ominously in the distance, a steady reminder that life hung by a thread. I felt as if I were floating in the middle of a storm, wind-whipped and vulnerable, tossed around by forces beyond my control. My fingers tightened around the cold metal bedrail, feeling each little groove as if it were a lifeline tethering me to reality. Suddenly, a familiar scent broke through my panic, the antiseptic. It became a bittersweet reminder of both pain and safety, a contradiction that twisted my gut. I opened my eyes again, catching a glimpse of the medical staff, their faces blending, turning indiscernible to my hazy awareness. I batted away tears that threatened to overflow. I didn't want to appear broken, not here, not now. Just then, he walked in, Dr. Carter. He exuded a calm competence that drew my gaze. His brown hair was slightly tousled, his scrubs worn but crisp, and his eyes, oh those eyes, were gentle and probing. He approached with an air of quiet authority, yet there was an underlying warmth that defied the clinical environment. His gaze flicked over my body, quickly taking in each bruise and cut, and my breath caught in my throat. "Car accident?" he asked softly. The words hung in the space between us, but I heard the unspoken accusation hidden within. He was probing, seeking the truth behind the facade I'd so carefully constructed. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to tell him the truth, to scream the words I had suffocated inside for too long. But my mind went blank when I considered the consequences of exposure. My husband lurking around the corner, waiting to pounce on any sign of weakness. Dr. Carter's brows drew together in concern, and I leaned back instinctively, clutching my side. Every inhale struck like a knife, sending shockwaves of fear coursing through me. The confusion in his eyes made me feel vulnerable and raw, but I couldn't shake the unease that tightened around my heart. Would my truth change anything, or would it only bring more pain? "Talk to me," he urged, his voice maintaining that calm authority. Yet, instead of feeling comforted, I felt the walls I had built crashing around me. I couldn't let him see me break. Exposure meant loss. I remained guarded, drawing deep within myself as I weighed my options against the tremors in my chest. "I fell," I finally managed to whisper, my voice barely escaping from my throat. But even I could hear how weak it sounded. Dr. Carter smiled softly, but doubt flickered in those warm eyes. "We'll take care of you," he assured me. The sincerity of his tone nearly tugged down the dam holding back my emotions. What if he wanted to help? What if? But in my darkest corner, my husband's voice echoed still, debilitating and mocking. I was trapped, suspended in a cycle of fear, unsure of where to turn. Maybe I wasn't ready to be saved. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled my nostrils, an all too familiar emblem of unease and dread. Dr. Carter's presence brought a calm that I didn't expect, grounding me as I struggled to process everything unfolding around me. He stepped back, giving me room to breathe, yet I remained frozen, heart racing, caught between the overwhelming urge to confess and the paralyzing fear of exposure. "Car accident?" His voice was gentle, almost tender, but it cut deeper than I wanted it to. It implied that there was truth buried beneath my facade, demanding to be unearthed. I wished I could tear down the walls that separated me from reality, but the fear of consequences kept me rooted. My husband's voice echoed in my ears, reminding me of the suffocating grip of control he held over me. "Just let me be," I thought, a futile hope swirling within. Dr. Carter's brow furrowed, his concern evident. He noted my discomfort as I instinctively leaned back, clutching my side where the pain festered like a cursed memory. Each shallow breath I took shot daggers through me, igniting sparks of anxiety, both physical and emotional. The vulnerability swirling in his gaze threatened to unravel me completely, but I couldn't afford the weakness. "Talk to me," he pressed gently, and his words, laced with authority, made my heart race further. I wanted to respond, wanted to find the strength to push through the layers of fear, but the crushing weight of my past held me down. I had thought I was strong enough to withstand anything, yet his kindness chipped away at the walls I'd built with such meticulous care. "I fell," I managed to whisper at last, the lie tasting bitter as it fell from my lips. It felt like conceding defeat, a betrayal of the truth I dared not reveal. Dr. Carter's smile faded slightly, replaced by a spark of doubt, which darkened the warmth in his eyes. "We'll take care of you," he reassured me, genuine concern radiating from him. I teetered on the cusp of hope, alarm bells ringing in my head. What did it mean for someone to care? I hadn't truly known warmth in so long. Maybe he did want to help, but my husband's voice resounded in the corners of my mind, toxic and debilitating. It blurred the edges of hope, tightening the coils of fear around my heart. I felt trapped, frozen in limbo, caught in the churn of pain and confusion. I wasn't ready for rescue, not yet. As Dr. Carter turned his attention back to his paperwork, the tension in the room shifted. I watched as he reviewed my chart, his brow furrowing again almost imperceptibly. Was he piecing together the origin of my injuries? I felt like a puzzle missing crucial pieces, my truth locked behind an invisible wall. "Your husband is in the waiting area," Dr. Carter stated, glancing up. My breath hitched, panic gripping my chest. "It's best he doesn't see you." The urgency in his voice got through the haze. Why was he even here? I thought anxiously. Doesn't he know he's poison? I didn't want him near me, near us. The mere thought of his presence threatened to unravel the fragile peace I'd found in this room, filled with medical chaos. "Please don't let him in," I said, tears welling as I caught the edge of fear in my tone. Dr. Carter stepped forward, the warmth of his aura anchoring me amidst the storm raging inside. "You're safe here. I won't let him through," he assured me, a fierce sincerity grounding his words. The moment felt charged, our gazes locking, and for a fleeting instant, I believed him. But another crash nearby yanked my attention back to reality. A mother rushed in with her sick child, crying in desperation, while they wheeled in another stretcher. The chaos of the emergency room was relentless, a perfect depiction of what my life had become. As my husband's voice floated in from outside, calling my name with that dark, syrupy tone, fear spiraled through me. I shrank back instinctively, heart racing anew. "Stay away from me," I thought fiercely, my body rejecting the notion of vulnerability as I clutched harder at the attachment to my rock-hard will to survive. "Stay close. I'm right here," Dr. Carter said, his voice cutting through the clamor. Yet, I felt the walls closing in. My husband was cunning. He thrived on fear and control. Would I risk my future on the faint promise of safety? In that moment, with the reality of danger lingering in the air, I realized I could no longer afford to cling to shadows. The air grew heavy with tension as I sank deeper into the hospital bed, barely able to process the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Dr. Carter stood beside me, a steady presence amidst my chaos. "I need you to be brave for just a moment," he said, leaning in closer, his voice low and resonating with compassion. "Can you do that?" Bravery. The word sat heavily on my heart. I nodded, though I felt a wash of doubt. As he turned to speak with the nurse just outside the curtain, my heart raced at the memory of my husband lurking on the other side, an ever-present specter of danger. When Dr. Carter returned, urgency flickered in his eyes. "We need to talk about your injuries," he began, resolve firm in his tone. "The medical team needs to understand what happened." My pulse quickened at the thought of detailing my reality. "I fell," I blurted out, irritation spilling over my defenses. "Falls can cause serious injuries, but—" Dr. Carter hesitated, sharp eyes piercing into mine. "There are patterns in your bruises that suggest otherwise." A mix of fear and resentment simmered within me at the idea of unmasking my truth. Could I trust him? All those years of silence flooded back, years of hiding, convincing myself that safety lay in secrecy. But was I risking more by remaining silent? "Please don't push me," I managed quietly, panic tinged in my voice. "I'm not pushing you. I'm asking you to trust me," he replied, as sincerity radiated from him. "But if I don't know what's really happening, I can't help you." But I felt paralyzed, caught between fear and an instinctive hope, pushing me to break through. The hospital chaos outside the curtain fell into my periphery, growing more distant. Just then, the door swung open and my husband's shadow darkened the threshold. Instinctively, I pressed further against the bed, dread clouding my mind. He stepped in without invitation, his gaze simmering with an unsettling mix of control and deception. "What's going on in here?" he asked, voice laced with ice. Tension choked the air as I felt my heart race, desperate to escape. Dr. Carter stepped in front of me, a protective barrier against my husband's simmering menace. "Sir, you need to wait outside." "Absolutely not," he shot back, eyes narrowing as if he were sizing me up. What are you doing with my wife? I'm a doctor, treating her injuries, Dr. Carter asserted with unwavering resolve, his stance firm as a wall. The room crackled with tension, and I swallowed hard, trembling beneath my husband's piercing gaze, a predator in his element. You're here because you fell, Sarah, he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. Let's not make this worse than it has to be. My stomach sank at the familiar pull of manipulation, but Dr. Carter's steady presence anchored me. You don't need to listen to him, he urged softly. But the looming threat was suffocating. My husband's presence was a venomous air, a reminder of my deepest fears. When Dr. Carter's calming hand rested on my shoulder, I felt an ember of courage flicker within me. No, I said firmly, the words spilling forth against the tide. I'm not going with you. Don't be ridiculous, he growled, stepping toward me, fists clenching, darkened eyes narrowing. Dr. Carter's voice cut through the tension. If you don't leave now, I will call security. The authority in his tone was unwavering as he stood between us, an immovable shield. My husband hesitated, a calculative glint in his eyes, weighing his options. I braced myself, heart racing as he took a step back, lips curling into an angry smirk. You think you can take her from me? He hissed, the venom seeping into his words. You've put her in danger, Dr. Carter shot back, unwavering. You need to go. With a flicker of rage, my husband turned and stormed out, bitterness trailing behind like a black cloud. The release of tension felt electric, and I collapsed back against pillows, breathless, every nerve alive with adrenaline. You did great, Dr. Carter said softly, his eyes warm with approval. I felt strength flickering within me, fragile but real. As a nurse slipped in behind him, my heart surged with hope. Let's get you stabilized, she said, pulling medical supplies from the cart. You deserve help, Sarah, and we're here for you. Dr. Carter nodded, the tension on his brow easing a little as he helped the nurse prepare. Suddenly, my reality began to shift before my very eyes. I realized I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was alive and ready to reclaim my story. In the midst of chaos, overshadowing uncertainty, I discovered a flicker of power igniting within me. This would be my turning point. A dangerous journey ahead to find my truth, but I could finally see a path forward, one that didn't end in shadows. The beeping of monitors created a rhythm in the background, a steady pulse that slowly calmed the storm inside me as Dr. Carter and the nurse worked efficiently around the room. The nurse, whose name tag read Lisa, moved with grace, her hands deftly applying a clean bandage over the more prominent bruises on my arms. It felt oddly comforting, the gentle touches reminding me that care still existed despite the chaos outside. You're safe here, Sarah, Lisa said, her voice soothing. We won't let anything happen to you. I wanted to believe her, needed to believe. The realization that I was no longer just hiding away began to sink in, sinking in warmth amidst the frigid fear I had lived in for so long. As Dr. Carter adjusted IV lines, I noticed the care in his movements, each placement of the needle, the way he examined my injuries. It spoke volumes about his character. He was here, devoted to helping me, despite the risks it carried. That unwavering commitment felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Can we talk? Lisa asked gently, tearing my focus from the medical chaos. I nodded, my heart racing. It was time to unpack everything. The fears, the pain, the weight of secrecy I had carried for too long. The nurse pulled up a chair, settling in front of me with an empathy that made my throat tighten. You've been through so much, and it's okay to take your time, she said softly. You're safe to share your story here. A familiar wave of trepidation washed over me, but I inhaled deeply, drawing on the strength I had felt when confronting my husband. I think I'm ready. I whispered, the tremor in my voice betraying the turmoil beneath. Start wherever you'd like, Lisa encouraged, her eyes bright with understanding. I cleared my throat, my gaze drifting to the window, where daylight fought to break through the cloud cover. My husband, David, he's not who he seems. Nobody sees the real him. Because he looks charming on the outside? Dr. Carter interjected, still close enough to hear. Exactly, I nodded, a knot forming in my stomach as I remembered the facade. In public, he's all smiles, sweet, supportive, but behind closed doors, it's different. The anger, the control, it's suffocating. He manipulates everyone, always has. The words poured from me, fueled by years of injustice and pain. When I first met him, I thought I found someone to love, someone who cared. But then there were little signs, comments that chipped away at my self-esteem. As time went on, it escalated to anger and isolation. That's not unusual for psychological abuse, Lisa said, her expression somber yet patient. It's often hard to see the signs until it feels like it's too late. I didn't see it then, I continued. I thought it was me. I thought I was overreacting. But the bruises, they tell a different story. The thought of revealing everything made my heart race faster. Could I? Dr. Carter stepped closer again, his presence comforting. You're not alone in this, he assured me. And it's not your fault. The gravity of that realization flickered in my chest, igniting a spark of something, maybe hope. He makes me feel like no one will believe me, like I'm crazy for thinking it's abuse. But it is abuse, Lisa confirmed, her voice steady. And you're not alone. There are resources available to help you. What if he finds out I'm here? The thought twisted inside me. What if he won't, Dr. Carter said, locking his gaze with mine. We'll make sure of that. You're safe here. You're strong enough to speak your truth. I promise we'll help you. As he spoke those words, a floodgate of emotions opened. Tears streamed down my cheeks. It felt overwhelming, cathartic, as if I was washing away years of silence. I'm scared of what comes next, I admitted, heart pounding. Fear is normal, Lisa replied. But facing those fears is the first step in your healing process. We'll work with you every step of the way to get you out of this situation safely. Will you help me? I asked, panic beginning to surge once more. What if he finds me? What if he retaliates? If he tries to come here, we'll call the authorities. We'll make sure you're protected. Dr. Carter reassured me, his voice firm. This is your chance to break free, and we're here to support you. Exhaling shakily, I felt the weight of my truth beginning to lift. My story wasn't just anguish, but also the beginning of reclamation. I had a chance to rebuild, to redefine my narrative. The door swung open and another nurse entered. We're ready for you in the social services office, she said, smiling warmly. We'll make a plan for your next steps. I felt a swell of hope build within my heart. The fear that had held me captive for so long was still there, gnawing at the edges of my mind, but it was overshadowed by the promise of support. Let's do this, I whispered, gathered courage coursing through my veins. As I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood, the world felt different. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a survivor, stepping and reclaiming my life. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I finally felt ready to face them. The social services office was a stark contrast to the chaotic energy of the emergency room. Soft beige walls and cushioned chairs created a safe haven, the atmosphere calmer and more intimate. A colorful painting hung on the wall, abstract shapes that looked like fragments of hope woven together that made me feel slightly less overwhelmed. As I stepped inside, a woman with short brown hair and warm brown eyes rose from behind a desk cluttered with forms. Hi, Sarah, she said, extending her hand. I'm Emily, the social worker. I'm here to help you. I shook her hand, feeling the sincerity in her grip. It's nice to meet you. Let's get started, shall we? She said, motioning for me to take a seat. I sank into the plush chair, my anxiety tightening around me like a vice as the door clicked shut behind us. Emily settled across from me, her demeanor professional yet compassionate. I've read your case notes, and I understand you're in a challenging situation. I want you to know that everything we discuss here is confidential. I nodded, a faint sense of relief washing over me. Thank you, I whispered, glancing nervously at the door. We're here to evaluate your options for safety and support, she stated gently, flipping through a folder before her. Is there a safe place you can go? My mind raced. I can't go home. He'll find me. The panic returned, sharper this time. I've already been trying to keep my distance. That's why we have resources available, she reassured me. Emergency shelters, long-term housing, legal assistance. We can work together to create a safety plan. What about my husband? The very mention of him made bile rise in my throat. What if he finds me? He's vindictive. We can help you file a restraining order, which will protect you legally, Emily explained. And I can connect you with local shelters where they can ensure your safety and help you with resources to get back on your feet. I felt the weight of her words slowly lifting a layer of fear. What does that look like? I asked cautiously, afraid of the answers. First, we'll coordinate your immediate needs, food, clothing, and medical care if necessary. Then, we'll discuss your long-term plan, she explained, watching my expression closely. You won't have to face this alone. Thus, the glimmer of hope flickered again, battling the oppressive fear tight in my chest. And what about therapy? I need to talk to someone about what's happening. That's a crucial step, Emily replied, nodding with affirmation. I can connect you with therapists who specialize in domestic violence recovery. They'll help you work through the trauma and empower you to rebuild your life. I feel broken, I admitted quietly, my voice trembling, like I can never put the pieces back together. You can, Emily said firmly. Breaking a cycle of abuse is incredibly daunting, but you're already brave by acknowledging what's going on. It takes strength to face the truth, and you're not just putting the pieces back, you're constructing a new foundation for yourself. Her words resonated, wrapping around my shattered spirit as I let the possibility sink in. How do I start? I asked, leaning forward, yearning to take control of my life again. Yes, I replied, the words spilling out, charged with determination. I want to do this. Emily guided me through the initial steps, asking for details, assuring me that her support would be there every step of the way. Filling out forms became easier as I focused on the possibility of freedom instead of the prison my life had become. As I completed the paperwork, I felt the grip of fear loosening its hold on me just a little more. Each stroke of the pen felt like a reclaiming of my power, every word a barrier against my husband's threats. What about Dr. Carter? I suddenly asked, concerned. Will he be involved in any of this? I can coordinate with him to ensure you receive any medical care you need, Emily said, a reassuring smile creeping onto her face. He's already shown an investment in your well-being. If you'd like, I can also involve him in the support network we're creating together. Okay, I replied slowly, letting the idea settle in. Dr. Carter had been the only person to show me kindness in a long time. Connecting with him felt like a safety net amidst uncertainty. After completing the paperwork, I heaved a sigh of relief. The tangible weight of potential resolutions hung in the air. However, shadows still loomed. How did I dig my way out into the light? We will work on finding somewhere for you to stay, and I'll help set up a meeting with a legal advocate who can help you navigate your options, Emily reassured me. You're on the right path. As the conversation continued, I felt the tiniest flicker of hope swelling within. like light breaking through a dense fog. Plans formed in vivid colors on the horizon, and the chains of secrecy began to crumble. When it was finally time to leave, Emily walked me back to the main ER area. "We'll check in again after you've settled," she said, her hand resting gently on my shoulder. "And remember, you're not alone in this. We're with you." "Thank you," I replied, thanking her for her patience, kindness, and understanding. Finding my footing in the busy hallway, I felt the echoes of hope, the voices of the nurses and doctors rushing past, the people with real stories, each thread an important part of humanity. As I stepped into the bustling ER, my heart raced at the uncertainty ahead, but I didn't feel trapped anymore. I could see glimpses of possibilities lighting the way forward. "Sarah," a voice called out. I turned to find Dr. Carter approaching, his warm demeanor comforting amidst the chaos. "How did it go?" he asked, concern mingling with curiosity. I hesitated, but the corners of my mouth lifted slightly in a hint of a smile. "I think I'm ready to fight back." "I'm glad to hear that," he said, pride lighting his expression. "It's not going to be easy, but I believe in you." For the first time in years, I felt the spark of liberation growing. This was just one step, the beginning of reclaiming my life, piece by piece. The days that followed moved in a blur, filled with a kaleidoscope of emotions: fear, hope, anxiety, and a simmering defiance. Each sunrise marked a new chapter, the possibility of reclaiming my life intertwined with the remnants of my past. Dr. Carter checked in often, each encounter a reassurance that I wasn't navigating this tumultuous path alone. He would sit with me, asking how I was feeling, making sure I was adjusting to the plans Emily had set in motion. His genuine care was a healing balm to my frayed spirit. On the third day, I found myself sitting in a small, cramped office across from Emily again. Sunlight streamed through the small window, illuminating the scars of my past, but also highlighting the presence of hope that was beginning to take root in my heart. "We've secured a place for you," Emily announced, her enthusiasm palpable. "It's a safe house designed specifically for women in situations like yours. You can stay there temporarily while we help you establish something more permanent." The weight of her words hung in the air, an intoxicating mix of relief and trepidation. "What does it look like? Will there be other women?" "Yes and yes," Emily replied, her smile brightening the room. "There's communal support available. They offer therapy groups, workshops, and recreational activities. It's a good place to heal. The staff is trained to handle situations like yours, and they can help you keep your location confidential, so David can't find you." The thought of slipping further from his grasp, of clawing my way back to life, sent a rush of adrenaline through me. "When can I go?" "Soon. We can arrange a safe transport for you within the next few hours," she replied, her eyes twinkling with reassurance. "And once you're settled, we'll continue to discuss legal options, support resources, and therapy schedules. Can I hesitated, uncertainty creeping back. "Can I stay in touch with Dr. Carter?" "Absolutely. We want you to have solid support, and he's been instrumental in your recovery already," Emily assured me. "I'll coordinate with him to make sure you have that connection." The warmth in my chest flared. "Thank you for everything. Really. Your support it means the world." "You deserve this," she said gently. "Now, let's prepare for your transition." As we finalized the details, my stomach buzzed with anticipation, but beneath it lay a current of fear. Leaving the hospital felt like breaking free from a familiar prison, but also stepping into the unknown, a vast open space where anything was possible. The ride to the safe house felt surreal. Each mile stretched like a bridge between my past and the future, my heart racing in tandem with the passing scenery. Emily sat beside me, detailing the resources at the house, her steady voice a calming presence. When we arrived, my breath caught in my throat. The Victorian-style house loomed in front of me, ivy creeping up the brick facade and cheerful flowers blooming in front. It looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, but as I stepped out, trepidation mixed with wonder. "Welcome." A woman waited at the door, her welcoming demeanor immediately putting me at ease. "I'm Carol, the house manager. We're glad to have you." Stepping inside, I could already sense a shift. The walls were painted in soft hues, sunlight streaming through large windows, casting a warm glow on the furniture. It felt safe. "You can choose your room, and we have common areas for gatherings or workshops if you want to join," Carol explained with kindness. I think I'll need some time to adjust," I stammered, glancing at the cozy couches and the women bustling about, sharing laughter and stories. Each face I saw mirrored a semblance of strength I yearned to emulate. "Of course, take your time. We want you to feel comfortable here. No pressure," Carol encouraged, leading me to a small room at the end of the hall. "This can be your safe space." The room was quaint and inviting, a bed draped with a soft quilt and a small shelf with books already stacked on it. A tiny desk by the window beckoned, sunlight illuminating the pages of a novel waiting to be cracked open. "Thank you," I whispered, gratitude swelling within me as I took it all in. As I settled into my new space, the reality hit me. I was free from the shadows that haunted me, the chains of fear that had held me captive. I took a moment to breathe, slowly letting the weight of relief wash over me. But remnants of anxiety lingered, gnawing at the edges of my awareness. That evening, Carol gathered us in the common room, a circle of women, each one a survivor in their own right. "We're going to go around and introduce ourselves," she said gently. "Share as much or as little as you'd like. This is a safe space." Heart racing, I hesitated. Would I find the words to voice my journey? My throat tightened as I listened to the others, each story sewn with threads of pain and resilience. They spoke of hardships, of loss, but also of hope, ignited within the embers of survival. It resonated, the understanding pooling between us like a shared breath. Finally, it was my turn. "I'm Sarah," I began, voice shaking slightly. "I'm here looking for a way to start over. I faced abusive situations and now I'm trying to reclaim my life." The room was enveloped in a hush, understanding and empathy flaring as eyes met mine. Not one of judgment, but of shared recognition and strength. "I'm scared, but I want to rebuild," I added, heart thudding. "You will," one woman chimed in, her voice soft yet unwavering. "We'll help you." Warmth enveloped me, and tears prickled my eyes, not from fear but from a sense of belonging slowly unfurling within me. The walls I'd built around my heart began to tremble as I realized I wasn't alone anymore. As days turned into weeks, the atmosphere in the safe house became a balm for my raw wounds. Each woman shared her truths, our stories knitting together a tapestry of strength and resilience. Therapy sessions introduced me to the tools I needed to heal. The safe house became a nurturing cocoon where pieces of my identity began to flourish again. Through it all, Dr. Carter remained a steady presence, reaching out, checking in as I navigated this new chapter of my life. "You're doing incredible work," he reminded me in one of our conversations, pride etched in his voice. "This journey isn't easy, but you're facing it head on." And each time we spoke, I could feel the distance between the past and my evolving self shrinking. As I opened up to the flow of healing and connection, I began to rediscover my voice, free from the grip of fear. I was moving forward, the shadows of my past fading, transformed with every small step I took toward reclaiming my life. The transformation that unfolded in those days and weeks was profound. With every passing moment, the layers of my identity began to peel away, revealing new facets of myself that had lain dormant for far too long. I felt hope coursing through my veins, a stark contrast to the dread that once enveloped me like a shroud. My mornings became marked by a sense of purpose as I attended workshops at the Safe House. We practiced skills, from self-care routines to ways of asserting our boundaries in a world that had tried to strip them away. The shared laughter and collective understanding felt like a balm, allowing me to breathe a little easier, laugh a little harder. One evening, Carol gathered us for a vision board activity. Each woman scraped together magazines, scissors, and glue to mold visual representations of our dreams. As I cut out words, strength, freedom, hope, I realized I was crafting more than just a decorative project. I was forging a bridge to my future. As I glued down images of women climbing mountains, peaceful landscapes, and vibrant sunrises, I felt the shadows of doubt retreating from my mind. I wanted to climb my own mountains, not alone, but with my newfound family surrounding me. "All right, ladies, let's share what we've created," Carol encouraged, glancing at each of us. "Every vision is valid and powerful." When my turn arrived, I hesitated but felt a nudge to speak. I want to reclaim my voice," I said, pointing to the words I had pasted boldly on the board. "I want to be strong, to help others, and to find the kind of love that doesn't hurt." A chorus of affirmation surrounded me, echoing that sense of community I was slowly beginning to understand. "You already are strong, Sarah," someone called out. "We all feel it." That warmth swelled my heart, letting me dive deeper into the possibilities ahead. Days passed, and then one morning I received a call that made my heart race. "Sarah, this is Detective Thomas," the voice on the other end purred, cutting through the newfound tranquility I'd been cultivating. "We've apprehended your husband, David. He's in custody awaiting arraignment. I wanted to update you on the situation." Every muscle in my body tensed. My past rushed back in an instant, a dark wave crashing against my resolve. "What does that mean?" I managed to ask, uncertainty shaking my voice. "It means he won't be able to reach you," Detective Thomas replied. "Charges have been filed against him based on the evidence collected and your statements. This is a critical moment. I encourage you to apply for a restraining order." The words echoed in my mind, a protective barrier against the very man who had tormented me. I inhaled sharply, a mix of despair and relief flooding my senses. "I need a moment," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I understand. Take your time," he said, calm and collected. I hung up, my heart racing. I felt safe but vulnerable. The path ahead was still fraught with uncertainty, but the thought of David being behind bars anchored me in a reality I had desperately sought. "I need to talk to Emily," I murmured to myself, purpose overtaking hesitance. I found her in the common room, an air of reassurance surrounding her. "Emily, I just got a call from the detective. They've arrested David," I said, the weight of the moment crashing over me. She took a step closer, her expression serious, yet the flicker of hope was evident in her eyes. "That's a big step, Sarah. But there's still work to do. The restraining order can provide an important layer of protection." "I want to file it," I confirmed immediately, nodding with newfound determination. "Let's make it happen," she replied, her confidence serving as a fountain of support to draw from. After we finalized the necessary paperwork, I couldn't shake the nervousness thrumming under my skin. A sense of impending dread lingered, but I also felt emboldened by the bonds I had formed with the other women in the safe house. "What's our plan?" another resident, Jenna, asked as I shared the news at dinner. The room grew quiet, attentively focused on me. "We're proposing a restraining order," I answered, glancing around the table. The solidarity was palpable, and I could see encouragement hanging in the air. "That's powerful," Jenna affirmed, his enthusiasm tangible. "You're doing exactly what you should. You're taking charge." As we ate, I felt an invisible layer of safety wrap around us. The heaviness that accompanied my past began to grow lighter, each moment shared reinforcing my resolve. Later that evening, I took a moment alone on the small balcony outside. The night was cradled in shadows, but flickers of light danced in the distance. I scanned the skies, searching for stars. "Tonight's a turning point," I reflected, breathing in the cool air. "I'm taking control." Over the next few days, my world shifted from fear to empowerment. The court date loomed, a date marking my path toward justice. Emily supported me through preparations, rehearsing how to present my case alongside the detective, explaining what to expect. Finally, the day arrived, heavy with anticipation, and as I stood before the judge, I looked out at the people who had supported me, their unwavering strength echoing in my heart. When it was my turn to speak, I poured out the truth, detailing the reality I had lived. "I can't let fear dictate my life any longer," I declared, voice stronger than I had ever felt. "I want to move forward." The judge nodded, attentive and engaged as I recounted my experiences, the determination pulsing through my words. When I finished, silence enveloped the room, and I was met with supportive eyes. "I'm granting your restraining order," the judge announced finally, sealing my future with a profound sense of relief. As I walked out of the courthouse, I felt lighter, as though I had shed an entire weight. Outside, the sun bathed the world in its warm embrace, refreshing and inviting. I took a deep breath, my heart racing with a mix of joy and disbelief. "Did you hear that?" Emily asked, stepping beside me to celebrate. "You did it, Sarah." "I did," I realized with a grin spreading across my face, the warmth radiating through me. "I really did." I stepped forward into a world of possibilities, ready to embrace what lay ahead. What if there was still more to reclaim? What if joy awaited on the horizon? I still had much to face, but the shadows receded, leaving the contours of a brighter future shimmering within reach. A year later, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blouse. The reflection staring back was different, vibrant and strong. My heart swelled with pride as I took in the woman I had become, no longer defined by my past but by my choices. After the restraining order was granted, life transformed dramatically. With the support of the safe house, therapy, and my own determination, I began rebuilding my life. I volunteered at organizations advocating for survivors of domestic violence, sharing my story to inspire hope in others. Each time I spoke, it felt empowering to turn my pain into purpose. One afternoon, after a particularly impactful workshop, my phone pinged. It was a reminder for my support group meeting. Excitement bubbled within me. This space had become a refuge of connection. I navigated through the bustling city, the sun warming my skin and igniting optimism in my heart. As I entered the community center, Jenna greeted me with a warm hug. "You look radiant, Sarah." "I feel it," I replied, smiles exchanged in an atmosphere heavy with camaraderie. The meeting began with updates and shared stories. I prepared to present my latest project, a self-defense workshop aimed at empowering survivors. Gazing at the supportive faces around me, I felt anchored, ready to inspire. "I can't let fear dictate my life anymore. I want to move forward," I declared, channeling the strength I had fought for. Afterward, as laughter and conversation filled the air, I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder. It was Dr. Carter, his presence a calming influence. "I'm proud of you, Sarah," he said, his eyes shining with genuine warmth. "Thank you, Ethan," I replied, my heart swelling. "I couldn't have done this without your support." As we walked outside together, the sun enveloped us, illuminating the path ahead. I gazed at him, grateful for his unwavering encouragement. "Let's keep pushing forward," I said, my spirit lit with conviction. The future lay open before us, vibrant and full of promise, brimming with possibilities. Gone were the shadows of my past. Instead, I embraced the beauty of new beginnings, empowered, connected, and ready to face whatever lay ahead. This was my new beginning. I could reclaim my narrative and navigate life on my terms, a journey still unfolding with hope shimmering brightly in my heart.